Be a good human. Do as you're told. Listen to authority. Others know what is best for you. Is that the delusion that we live under? Is that the premise to which we've lived our lives now? The idea that other people can live our lives for us. Why have we put our hand into the world of other people, media, drama, politics? And not important politics, garbage politics. Politics are part of life. Politics are something that all people share in common. But I'm talking about the garbage politics. We waste our time with worrying about things that aren't important. We worry ourselves with what other people are doing, what celebrity did what. It's like when somebody told me Jerome Kersey died. You know, that might matter if you're a basketball fan, but if you're not, it's just another dude that died. Sorry to sound harsh or abrasive, but it's just how I feel. It's just life. We all die. I don't see how a person who's famous in some way is any more important than another, but I guess we do have people that we value in our lives, heroes and whatnot, and perhaps I'm a little cynical, maybe a little harsh because I don't necessarily have any idols or people I look up to. I would say if I were to look at my heroes in this world, because I've considered this before, it would be people like Manly P. Hall. But at the same time, he's got his, let's say, Manly P. Hall and Alan Watts are two of my favorite lecturers. But at the same time, they both have their faults. I would never look up to them as like being leaders. For example, Alan Watts was a little too eccentric for my taste, but he made light of everything. And a lot of people say, oh, well, he was a full-blown alcoholic, yada yada. Well, whatever. He was just a human doing his thing. But he understood some components of this picture. And then we have Manly Hall on the other end, who he was mystical and respectful in all ways you can imagine, and had all these understandings of ancient culture and history. But he said some things that never resonated with me. For example, he said heavy metal, is this bane on society, and it's causing all this conflict. And that the vibrations of the music are negative and whatnot. It's just little things like that, because to some degree he was correct maybe, but it was this old man's view of because I did a video the other day talking about heavy metal and how many of the negative connotations were actually just taken out of context, how heavy metal was actually making a difference in the world. For example, Manly P. Hall, when he was talking shit about heavy metal in 1990, could have no clue that year a bunch of albums were coming out of heavy metal, talking about how bad nukes are and how much injustice is going on in the world. So my point being, not that he was right or wrong, just that there was a miscommunication, a lack of understanding there. And because of that miscommunication, there's a little bit of what he says that's not quite true. And the same goes for everybody, every leader, every teacher, every person who has something to share, something to say, something to contribute to the discussion when it comes to, what it means to be alive. Nobody doesn't have a contribution. Every single person has an equal right. Some have more of a say because they understand people better, and that's really the only way that you can have more of a say than others, more of a valid say that people care and will listen to, is if you understand people themselves. Because if you're just going by what you think is true, and you have your own delusional views about what life is, and you're trying to tell everyone that's the fact, and nobody else can see it, you may think that they're all the idiots, but you're all alone in it. So if you want to have ethos, pathos, and logos and actually convince people of things, you have to actually have evidence behind your claims, as well as the status to be able to make the claims. So We don't have to believe anybody 100% because everybody may be missing one of those three components. For example, a person may be really, really good at what they do in their research, but be horrible at conveying their message, which means that the pathos or the emotion to which they convey their message is lacking. But they have the ethos, which is the status of being the person who's the scientist who studied it. So they hire someone to do the pathos part, if you will, and the logos, being the subject itself, is the most important part. The logos. What is the object? What is the main point? And 'tis life, my friends. 'Tis life. That's what it's all about. The logos. Logos. So if I could leave on one note, I'd like to say that, when I talk about things like this, it's all hoop-de-ha, whatever, mystical talk sometimes. And I wanted to say I try to keep it really simple because when you get to a certain point of speaking mystically or, spiritually about things, you lose people, you lose yourself, you lose reality. We start to draw conclusions and create gods and religions and ideas and theories, which is all fine and dandy, but what happens is we lose people in the process. Spirituality becomes inhuman. It forgets who we really are. Sometimes we're trying to hide from ourselves by saying, it's all about love. And then we get these people on board who hear this and say, but I can't love all the time. I can't live in the now all the time. I'm not always happy. What's wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing at all. Hate to sound like, one of those motivational speakers or something, but you can be whatever you want. You really can. That's the kind of shit. That's how I feel. You make a decision in your life. You decide what you want to do, and you can do it. And people hold us down by telling us that we can't do things. People try to keep us underwater. Why? Because they want to be up. And sometimes it's not even on purpose. I've looked at some of my own motives or jealousies in my life and thought, okay, by observing the things that I do, I can only imagine that, all humans go through these same things. If jealousy wasn't a universal trait, it wouldn't be one of the sins. And once we conquer those demons and we start to see that it's more than just loving everybody, and it's more than just believing in a particular God. It's about taking life by the horns and riding that motherfucker. Pardon my language, but that's really all we can do. And she's a tough ride, and if you can make it to the horn, oh my God. What is it, 7 seconds? Feels like 7 seconds sometimes. So, I'll leave it there before this gets too long, because I've made my point, and, I could leave everyone with the notion, without trying to sound too corny or eccentric, to say, you can take your own life, you can take your own initiative, you can be what you want to be. And I can sit here and say that, but I'm not completely the way I want to be, and I'm still working on that. But I know that whenever I make a decision to be better or to do better, that's reflected in my life and how I feel. So this is why I make videos, to share things like this with people in hopes that other people can see that they have the strength within themselves to be who they want to be, to improve the world they live in, and realize that you're just human. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to say stupid things, you're going to do stupid things, but we learn from it. And we don't have to defend ourselves when we fuck up. We just have to learn to apologize and move on. So once we learn how to love, and also understand our hate or our jealousy, our greed, our reason for being human, we don't deny our true human nature, but at the same time understand that there's something deeper to life, and don't try to deny it or explain it or label it, put it in a box, then we can all live together in harmony, because as long as we're drawing lines in the sand, the tide's going to keep on washing in to dissolve them. Have a great evening, everybody.